Thanks everyone while we dealt with our technical difficulties. I guess we'll just get started.
Yeah, let's get started. So first let me introduce the people who will be presenting today. I'm Dave Corcoran. I am the VP of Product and one of the co-founders of Onshape. We also have Abe Feldman, who's the Senior Product Designer and has acted as the product lead for Onshape Enterprise, and Neil Cook, who's our Product Marketing Manager. First of all, we're very excited to announce Onshape Enterprise. Onshape Enterprise is the new premium offering of Onshape. This meeting, we're going to split into two parts. Abe is going to go over what Onshape Enterprise is, why we did it, what it is, who it's for, and when it's available. And when it's available is now. It's been available and released for a few days now. Secondly, there's going to be two parts to the presentation. The first part of the presentation will be Abe going over those things. The second part will be a live demo of Onshape Enterprise. Onshape Enterprise is our premium offering. It is for modern companies that have extended workforces and want to improve their design processes and optimize their design processes. So without further ado, I'll be turning it over to Abe to get into the details.
Great, thanks Dave. So let me just switch back over so I can start sharing my screen. Excellent. Yeah, so to get started, Onshape's been in use for several years now. And as many of you know, our users and our customers have put in over 4 million hours of usage and have given us a huge amount of feedback about both Onshape as a product and their design process and their business. And what we've heard from a lot of these companies is that they're really struggling with the existing systems and processes that have been put in place over the last several decades to handle the complexity of the design process. And what they're really struggling with is that their products are multiplying and their stakeholders are proliferating around the world. And they're being forced to choose between being organized and being fast. And this is really because many of the old systems that are in place with PDM and existing data file management workflows really block people's ability to collaborate, especially in the more global workforce. And these companies also have an insatiable appetite for data and analytics about their product development processes, and these older companies or these older systems that they're working with, PDM and others, can't deliver any data about design in progress. So as an answer to that, we've released Onshape Enterprise, not soon released, it's available now, a premium edition that we believe and our customers have told us is a complete design platform for these sophisticated teams. And Enterprise, for your knowledge, has actually been under development here at Onshape for over a year. It's actually closer to 18 months at this point. And we've been testing it for the last 6 months in production with hundreds of early access users who put thousands of hours of real production usage into the system. Onshape Enterprise has been their primary CAD system, since late last year. And we'll hear a little bit from some of their experiences a little bit later in the presentation. So the main issue that these companies have been encountering, we've been calling design, enterprise design gridlock. And those of you who may have tuned into some of John Hirschtick's recent speaking engagements, may have heard about design gridlock as a symptom of, or as the issue that many companies encounter, when their processes get bogged down by their old file-based technologies. And enterprise design gridlock is a very acute form of this problem that more sophisticated organizations run into as they spread their product lines and their workforces across multiple locations. And so some of the things that we've been hearing from from teams that are suffering from this is we hear a lack of control. As these customers, as they expand their team and their cast of stakeholders grows, their IP is in the hands of many people, and they try to keep track of it, but they really don't know who has what or if they even still should. With file-based workflows, in even PDM systems, it's incredibly difficult to control who has access to your data. And once somebody has access to a file, it means they have full control over it. There's no pulling that back at that point. And trying to control their data with older systems like PDM results in a lack of agility. These companies can't be nimble, and they find that the more they formalize processes and attempt to control their intellectual property, the slower and more frustrating everything becomes. PDM systems especially involve a lot of blocking workflows, as one set of designers on the team check things out to make changes on it. Nobody else on the team can work on any of that until something is checked back in. And this contributes to a lack of access. It feels like the number of people who need access to design data is growing exponentially, both inside and outside their companies, but they struggle to get everyone on the team what they need, and the IT overhead of provisioning them access kills them. It's incredibly expensive to provision multiple people on a team with a PDM system, to say nothing of multiple teams worldwide. We've heard from customers that it can take up to 8 hours to clone data between 2 PDM servers across the world, and that's an entire shift of downtime just to make sure that 2 different teams in 2 different locations have access to the data they need to do their jobs. And all of this results in a lack of visibility into what's going on in process and design. These teams have lots of data about the final result of their products, how these products and components perform in the field under stress, but they have no data and struggle to produce even the most basic metrics about what's going on in their design process, who contributed what on which projects, and how those projects are progressing. The only metrics that any of these teams get are when something is checked into the vault or checked out. And those stage gates in the process can actually be months in the making. So there's really no visibility into what's going on in real time and how a project is progressing. And the companies that we've heard this from aren't necessarily just very large organizations. We've been testing enterprise with many types of companies, from the very small to the very large. And what really makes the difference is that they have multiple employees and extended team members across multiple locations worldwide. They're making complex products with sophisticated design processes. They require very rigorous security and access control to keep track of their intellectual property. Their extended teams and stakeholders need access to more information sooner. They have a demonstrated appetite for data analytics. But really, the most telling aspect of what makes these modern companies that are struggling with this is that their processes and workflows are encumbered by the old CAD and PDM products that they're trying to use now to control their data and give access and visibility to their extended teams. And so as an answer to this, we've introduced Onshape Enterprise. And Onshape Enterprise delivers 4 key pieces of value to these customers. It delivers secure control over their intellectual property. It delivers universal access to their entire team to all of the data that they need. It gives their external stakeholders and their internal stakeholders the unprecedented visibility into what's happening in the design process that they need to do their jobs and to make their business effective. And it integrates very well with other business systems like ERP and PLM using the Onshape API. And this, we believe, and our customers believe, it allows them to work faster without losing control. So we're going to dive directly into some of the key pieces of functionality that deliver each of these value statements, and then Neil's going to give us a demo of how all of this fits together. So the first aspect is secure control. And Onshape Enterprise starts secure control by putting everything that your company owns, all of the CAD data and any other additional files, behind a custom domain. This is your company's unique domain, and the only way that anyone can access this data is by going to that particular domain. And this is combined with an end-to-end role-based access control for both the modeling system and the data. Onshape is the only tool in the world that actually allows you to control up to someone's device what it is that they can actually do on the data that you share with them. And this allows for 0 unmanaged local copies of any of your data across the world. And combined that with additional security settings, more reactive security settings like comprehensive audit logs and centralized access reporting, gives you that direct visibility into who's done what with your data and from where. So that you can be sure that, by enforcing two-factor authentication, that only the right people are accessing your data. Now, this is very much in tension with the need for universal access. All of our customers that we've spoken to, have said, well, we really need to securely control all of our data, but the people within our organization, the authorized users, really need, the right access, and they need to get that without waiting. So Onshape Enterprise is incredibly easy to set up, and it's incredibly easy to provision and deprovision your entire extended team. In the course of delivering Onshape Enterprise to our early access customers, we turned on hundreds of users in seconds and gave them access to not just all of the data that that they needed to do their jobs, but also a fully fledged CAD system by which they can use to actually make changes. And that's just impossible with any other system. And this combines with a number of flexible access types, different for your employees or your guests. So that you can ensure that employees maybe have more access, but guests who may be contractors or vendors or even clients, only have access to a curated set of data. And a flexible full and light user type allow you to ensure that your engineering team always has, the right set of permissions, but that members of additional teams, maybe consumers of data on the manufacturing floor, procurement, sales, can't make changes to models where they shouldn't. And all of this, of course, is built on top of, Onshape's existing database architecture, which allows for zero risk of outdated data, because everybody is always looking at the most up-to-date version of any particular design. Now, the unprecedented visibility is really where Onshape starts to step away from the rest of the pack. Other products allow for small aspects of secure control over data, at least while they're checked into the vault. Thinking about PDM systems, and you can give everyone in your organization, access to the PDM vault, but it's an incredibly expensive prospect. But none of those systems allow for the same kind of visibility into what's going on in real time the way that Onshape Enterprise does. Real-time analytics allows for up-to-the-minute understanding of where your team is in the process, and project activity tracking allows for everyone at the lowest level to understand what's gone on recently on a project so that everyone's always on the same page about what's happening. And this is combined with the ability to export data so that your engineering data and the work that's been happening in engineering can be part of the key performance indicators for your other business analytics packages, so that engineering is no longer just a black box that you put requirements into and a product comes out of. In this case, it's actually a central part of the organization that's undertaking the same data revolution that many other parts of the organization may have seen with products like Salesforce and Jira that allow for these very comprehensive understanding of what's going on where with regard to your customers or your work in progress. And this, of course, is combined with the universal access that we just talked about, so that your external stakeholders or your internal stakeholders or external stakeholders, whichever you prefer, can get access to the data that they need to make the right decisions for your business. And lastly, Onshape Enterprise integrates with with your other business systems, be it PLM or ERP, through the Onshape API, and also has single sign-on capabilities, allowing you to more centrally manage user access using products like Okta or Active Directory. And so now I'd like to turn it over to Neil to give you a full demo of everything that we've just talked about. Take it away, Neil.
Thank you, Abe. Okay, so anybody who's used Onshape will realize that it's a fully blown CAD system that you access through a browser or through a mobile device, and everything you can store within a single document. So a single document, in a sense, can be an entire project if you wish it to be. So it can include parts, assemblies, drawings, any kind of documents, PDFs, images, videos. And because it's all based in the cloud, there is no save button. So every time somebody makes a change, it is recorded, and is recorded for the lifetime of that document. And what that means in practice is that if you open the versions and history dialog, you get a full listing of everything that has happened to this document. And anytime you can go through the history, see who made a change and when. You can preview that change when it happened, or you can bring it forward and promote it if you like to be the latest version. So it essentially gives you unlimited undo redo. Now, this amount of information that we collect, Onshape Enterprise is being used to aggregate that information to make it more accessible to the entire enterprise. So let me first start out by signing out, and then we'll take a look at Enterprise in more detail. Okay, when I first come to sign in, you'll notice that an enterprise account has its own domain, as I've mentioned. So anybody who needs to access your data will do so through this domain. So in regular Onshape Professional, if you want to share it with a supplier, for example, all you need to do is share a document using their email address. With Onshape Enterprise, there's an extra layer of security, which means that you must invite that supplier into your enterprise, and they can only access your data through your custom domain. So it does give you that extra level of security and prevents any kind of issues. Or, well, once you've got somebody's working in your domain, you can track their activity and see in analytics exactly what's going on. Now, once you sign in, you're first presented with an activity feed. Now, this is a real-time stream of what's going on in all the projects that you have visibility into. So you can see that Brad has been editing this piston pump document here, and you can see what he's been doing. Not an awful lot by the looks of things. And you can also get a lot more information. And the idea here is that you could catch up with what the engineering team is. So perhaps you just signed in for the first time this morning, and the European team has been working early in the day on some projects. You want to see where they're up to. Or maybe the Asia region of your company or suppliers has been doing some changes, and you want to see what's going on. Now, because this is all part of the same system, you can see here that Joe's put in a release, and you can click on any links and see a release dialog. So you're getting the same information from the release management system built into Onshape directly from this activity feed. So you're getting a lot of information. You can see here everything's hyperlinked, who the approvers are, John Hirschtick in this case, and also lots of other things. So, for example, if somebody's added a comment, you can reply to that. That's great, and it enables you to get all the information and really act on real-time information regarding the projects that you're working on. And you can filter these by individual project. So we can see, yes, I've just added that comment. And really, if you wanted to see what was going on with a particular document, then you can click on the link and it'll show you the document details, plus all the activity that has gone into that particular document. Or if you're working closely with a particular colleague, you can click on their name and it'll give you their activity. So what projects they've been working on. So it just means that you don't have to chase people down to find out what the latest status of a project is. You can get all the information you need directly from this feed. And this is really kind of intended for the engineering team or perhaps the project managers. Later on, we'll be looking at analytics in more details to see really dig down into the detail of what's going on within the enterprise. Now, when we click over to the documents page, this page is very familiar to an Onshape user. There are two notable differences. One is a project. Project is basically a collection of documents that define a particular defined project with predefined permission schemes and predefined roles. The other notable change here is there is no public document filter. So you can't browse the public documents, and more importantly, nobody within your enterprise can share a document publicly either. So again, it gives you a lot more security within your business. Now let's take a look at a particular project. Now, a project, like I say, is in fact, let me just go and take a look at this one first. So a project is a collection of documents. I said at the start that you can put the entire contents of a project in a single document, but in reality, people spread them over multiple documents. And these can be, 3D parts, assemblies, drawings, anything that is related to your project. And these can also be things like PDFs. So any kind of document that you want to manage can be managed within Onshape. And if you wanted to as well, you can do things like you can version control things like Word documents, spreadsheets. You can embed Google Docs directly into a document as well. So it's a very easy way to control everything that is working within a particular project. So, for example, a project definition does have, first of all, its name and description, but then would have a permission scheme. Now, a permission scheme is something that you configure for your company, and you can have as many as you want. You can configure those entirely differently. But for a particular permission scheme, in this case, this one is called restricted access, and there's a description of what it's for. Each one of these will have a certain number of project roles. Now, a role is more like a job description or a job function. So we can see here we've got generically engineers and managers as the type of people who we want in this project. But you can also then see underneath they have what permissions they have. So even in this restricted early access project, the engineers, they can edit and they can comment, the managers can view and comment, but they can't share, they can't export. So it kind of ring fences your project to ensure that there's no external activity that shouldn't be within your project. Now, as a project evolves, you may want to open it up a little bit so you can change the permission scheme here. And we'll see for this permission scheme, there is a lot more access. So for example, you could have contractors working on it, customers viewing only. You might have procurement in there once they start to buy or to bring in suppliers. And then we can have different types of suppliers. And again, it's just a case of you just specify whether individual users or teams of users and what their permissions can be. So in this case, we'll add engineers to that, and those are their permissions that they now have. So the engineers' permissions in that team have now been expanded, and they can do more things like them, including exporting and sharing those documents. Now, again, mentioned at the start, sharing is only sharing within your enterprise. So again, not externally. So you get that extra capability. Okay, let's take a quick look at how these things as users and roles and permissions are set up. Now, a project role, as mentioned, is lists all the different types of job functions that would work within your business. So you might see there's contractors, there's people in documentation, there's procurement, there's approved suppliers, there's unapproved suppliers who are perhaps just for RFQ purposes only. And these number of roles, you can add as many as you want, and you can be very specific and granular about the type of person who has access to data within your business. So again, you can put all these types of information in here. And this at this point really is just a grouping of the type of person who you want to give access to. Permission schemes is where it all happens. So there might be a project default. So for just a regular project, you might have all these types of permission access, and each one of these is able to have these different levels of permissions. Now, this does a number of things. First of all, it ensures that when you create a project that you are keeping in line with your company policies and that you're not making mistakes. Or if you've ever tried sharing within Onshape, you have each time you share with a team or a person, you have to set the permissions for each one of those. So it means that you don't have to remember what permissions should be set for a particular team. It means that everything is predefined and it's very easy to set up. And then overall within Onshape Enterprise is a global permission. So you would have one or more company administrators who will have basically access to everything, but they can then delegate some of that responsibility to other people. So for managing users, inviting guests, deleting documents, accessing analytics, which is very important. You might not necessarily want everybody to see what's going on within the company. So you can specify who has access to that, as well as something simple as basic as creating projects. In this case, I've enabled everybody to be able to do that. Okay, from a user standpoint, now Onshape as a CAD product has always been very easy to provision new users. If you're using Onshape Professional and you set it up as a company, all you need is somebody's email address and they will be provisioned with CAD and all the data you're giving them access to within a matter of minutes or seconds even, depends how fast they answer their emails. Same thing applies in Onshape Enterprise. If you want to invite somebody, all you need to do is put in their email address and they will get access to the data. Now, one new thing within Onshape Enterprise is the option to specify a user as a guest. Now, this is intended for people who just need temporary access. So they might be a contractor. They could be somebody in your organization, but only needs temporary access. For example, I don't know, somebody in marketing might need some images, for example. So you can define who has access and when. And again, the big difference here, first of all, is that person is tagged as a guest, so it's easy to differentiate that person from everybody else in your business. But it also means that they are not automatically given access rights to anything. You have to explicitly give them permissions to do things within your business. So let's go and do that now. So in this particular project here, let's go ahead and edit that project, and we'll add Corey, who's flagged as a guest, and then give her some permissions. Now, these permissions can be anything. They can be for a full user or a light user. She could be a contractor. She could even be just an external, a trusted external contractor, where you give her full permissions that the same engineers do. So you're not restricted by the type of person you add as to what they can do. The project lead will determine what that person can do with the data that you're giving them permission to see. So let's just go ahead and add Corey. And then we'll take a look at how that works in practice. So this is, we're going to sign into regular Onshape. So this person could have a free Onshape account, Onshape Standard, Onshape Professional, and they can then sign in using their email address. And what you'll see is that at present, this has no documents in it. You can see even in the shared with me folder, there is nothing. And that's simply because we are not inside the enterprise. To access that data, and she would have received an email, so clicking on the email will take her directly to that. But you can switch over from the menu in the top right corner to that enterprise. If that person is a member of multiple enterprises, perhaps they're a supplier and they supply multiple different companies who use Onshape Enterprise, there will be a longer list of enterprises to switch to. But clicking on that will take it to the sign-in page and go ahead and sign in with the username and password. Now, what we'll see from the activity page, we'll see there's only access to that project that we've seen, that added to, and in the documents page, likewise, there's only access to that project and nothing else. Okay, as you would expect. But the difference here is that we are within we've had to sign into the enterprise to access this data. So I cannot, unless I have export permissions, I cannot take any data out of this enterprise. So again, it's a very secure way of sharing data with perhaps contractors or suppliers, and you don't want them to do anything with that data. They must sign into your enterprise. Now, if that person is finished, the easiest thing to do is you can unshare them from a project. But if that person no longer requires access, then simply right-clicking and removing that user will deprovision that person. So not only will they get the CAD will be, they'll still have CAD if they've got their own Onshape account, obviously, but they'll get booted out of your enterprise and they'll no longer have access to the data that you've supplied with them. And if they're currently in a document, one of your documents, when you do this, they will get booted out immediately. So again, the security level is way beyond anything that's happened before. So either in Onshape or more importantly, with old CAD and PDM, provisioning users was a very, very time consuming activity. And obviously when you got CAD files checked out of PDM, there's no way to check what somebody has done with those files. Have they made copies of them? Have they been working on them? What have they been doing with them? So Onshape Enterprise gives you great visibility into everything that happens with your data. Okay, and on that theme, let's move over to analytics. Now, analytics is something that a manager, project manager, executive would be interested in taking a look at to get an overview of what's happening within the engineering process. Now, I've mentioned already AutoCAD and PDM. With PDM or even PLM systems, you only know what's going on once the data is checked in. Then you can get some idea of what's been done and what changes have made and so on. But in between those check-in and check-out activities, you've really got no clue of what's going on. So let's take a look at some of the detailed reports that we can get out of Onshape Enterprise. Okay, now everything that everybody has been doing within a document is totally available from within a particular enterprise business. So all the data that we've been working on is generated and presented to us in a very graphical format. So we can see what the most active documents are. This piston pump models had 4 hours spent on it, and again all the different types of models. We can see release status, number of parts released, number of parts that are pending. This is over the last 15 days, by the way, because you can, once you start getting a lot of data, you can almost become overwhelmed with the amount of data. So there is plenty of filters in there to really drill down to see exactly what you want to see. You can also then see where those sign-in locations are. So we can see in Cheyenne, number of logins, 1. And you can click on that, drill down, and see what that person has been doing, as well as Pune or Milan. Okay, so you can see exactly where people have been signing in, and if you drill down, you can see who those people are, what documents they've been working on, and what they've been doing in those documents. You can see it also here is things like user time. So each of these people have been spending so much time modeling. You can see not a lot of activity at weekends, which you would expect. But then you can see that, again, over the past 15 days, there's been active users, there's been so many shares, so many exports. You can also drill down into this information as well. So if you want to know how many, who's been exporting documents, who's been sharing documents with the users, you can get very detailed information. This is the sort of thing that you could not get from any other CAD system, because once somebody exports, again, you've no idea if they exported it, what they exported it, and what they did with it. So there is great ways to be able to track activity within the enterprise. Now, as a project manager, you might think, okay, well, we've got a number of pending releases here. We might want to dig down and see what's going on here. So each report has a submenu which you can drill down and see exactly what's going on in that area. So the release activity over the last 30 days, we've got 24 releases, only 14 have been approved, and there's 2 been rejected. And again, you get this graphic, you can see which user has been submitted, which is approved, rejected. But perhaps more importantly, you can see these are pending, these pending releases. So you can see a number have been pending for quite a number of days. So you might want to see what's going on there. So really clicking on some of these links, again, enables you to get the detailed information from the release dialog. So, and this is one of the benefits of having everything together in one system, the CAD, the data management, and the analytics as well. So again, we can see that there is, here's the parts, all the individual parts, the approvers. Okay, that's me, so I could actually release it from here if I wish, but I won't. And also then when you're looking at these kind of things, and the reason why something might not be approved is because somebody might just be on vacation, but it just gives you insight into what's going on and allows you to be a little bit more proactive in seeing what might be causing an issue and act before it's too late. Again, you can drill down. Okay, so so Brad had made that that release. Let's see what else he's been working on. He's been modeling for 27 hours on 13 different assemblies, mostly on this document. You can see from a feature activity, and these are trend graphs. So it tells you that he's been doing a lot of modeling, he's been doing a lot of assembly work, he's been doing hardly any drawings. So perhaps some of the projects he's been working on is perhaps a little bit behind, because he's not working on projects. You'd think for a particular project, it's probably highly likely that it should be doing more drawings towards the end of a project rather than modeling. So it gives you an insight into exactly where a project is. You can see which their activity trend, in what days they've been working, the sign-in location. You can see Brad's been jet setting off around the world, and the devices that he's logged into. So you can get, and then also just as important, you have the projects and roles that they have in each project and their document permissions as well. So again, going on the theme of security, you can really get a detailed list of all the information that's available. Now, every report that is generated, you can either generate a PDF or create a CSV for massaging in another system. So if you wanted to create a PDF of the data to present at an executive meeting, for example, you can do that. Or if you wanted to take this data out of this to perhaps use in your ERP system, you can also do that. So again, there's a lot of capabilities and possibilities with the data that's generated within Onshape. Now, one of the things which is probably very useful is when we're looking at a document activity. So when you invite somebody to a document, then you need to know what permissions they have and what they have access to. So, for example, if I click on Cody here, I can see that he has access to a number of documents. He's been working and modeling in there, also on a particular projects. So let's take a look at a particular project, and all these people have access to it. So it might be that they have access to it. Should they really still have access to it, and what have they been doing in there? So again, it gives you an idea of everything that's going on within your business. Now, a lot of this capability as well is available directly within the mobile device as well. So you can get all your activity and all your analytics directly within the mobile app as well. Simply signing in using enterprise credentials will show you all your activity, all your analytics, and obviously all the CAD capabilities as well. So you can essentially, if you're out of the office and you don't have a laptop, you have full access to all the capabilities within Onshape. So you can model, you can release parts, you can check activity within the business. So there are many different types of reports that you can generate, and you can slice and dice this information in any number of ways. One last report I would just take a look at is perhaps a project dashboard. So again, as the project manager, you might be interested in this steering pump document that we created, or projects we created. And again, this will then tell me that there are 4 documents, 3 drawings, 2 releases. The entire modeling time, which if you bill by the hour, would be very useful. So you've got all that information you can get directly from there. And again, you can get all the information regarding the documents, the roles and permissions, and who's actually been working on there and signing in from there. So again, all this kind of information can be generated and drilled down into to get all the information you need about your business. So that is a high-level overview of some of the capabilities of the analytics reporting, the role-based access, and the live activity streams that you get within Onshape Enterprise. And with that, I will pass it back to Abe.
Thanks, Neil. Give us just a second to switch back over control of the webinar. There we go. Awesome. So just to continue, there were a couple questions about the product line, and we're gonna dive directly into that now. So the first question was pricing and availability. So Onshape Enterprise is available now. We released it last week, and Dave Corcoran wrote a great blog post about it, covering a lot of what we've discussed so far. So give that a read if you haven't yet. But the Onshape Enterprise pricing structure is based on two metrics. It's based on a count of full users. These are your CAD editors. These are people who are doing, high-value content creation within your business. Those users are priced at $3,000 per user per year. And then it's based on a count of light users. These are, content consumers, people in, maybe purchasing or manufacturing, who need to, do things like view and comment on CAD data, potentially export it for putting it into machine tools, that sort of thing. Those are $300 per user per year. And the total of those two counts needs to equal the minimum configuration of 20,000 per year. And the reason for this is that, Onshape Enterprise is a much higher level of service from Onshape. It's not just all of the additional functionality, but there's also, additions in, the level of support that's received, named customer, account representatives, that kind of thing. So that's just a breakdown of the pricing structure. And then the other question was about the Onshape product line. So the new Onshape product line is based on these three different products now. Onshape Standard, is basically just a seat of CAD at $1,500 per user per year. Onshape Professional is CAD, complete data management, and release management at $2,100 per year, in addition to a number of company settings. And then Onshape Enterprise is the secure control with role-based access, the custom domain, unprecedented visibility in analytics, and universal access to all of your data for your entire extended team at $20,000 per year minimum. All right, and just to show everyone a quick product comparison of where Enterprise and the other parts of the Onshape product line all fit together. Onshape Enterprise is our premium product offering, and it actually allows a maximum in control and visibility and access for everyone on your team. Onshape Professional provides a smaller subset of that, and Onshape Standard is very much down at the lower end. We also include here, where we believe PDM and and old CAD systems fit into this. PDM allows for a small amount of control and a little bit of visibility, but it's nowhere near the levels that Onshape Professional and Onshape Enterprise provide to your extended teams. So lastly, we want to leave you all with with some quotes from our early access customers. Will Tillers, the engineering manager at Dixie Ironworks, he's been featured in a number of Onshape videos and blog posts. And with Onshape Enterprise, anyone on our production floor can look at the 3D model, they can look at the drawings, they can access the machine code, and always know it's the most up-to-date information. Their team has really extended their engineering force without adding to the engineering team. We also have a couple other customers who've been using it and told us some great things about their experiences. Phil and Ted's is a stroller company down in New Zealand, and they've been using Onshape Enterprise for quite a while. They were one of our first customers to sign up. The top-level analytics in Enterprise are very powerful. The moment I log on, I can see what went into the course of the previous day. I can see who was active, what parts we worked on, and what we accomplished overall. It also lets us know when someone on the team might be struggling with something, so I can be more proactive and help resolve an issue earlier. And that's from Phil Brace, the lead designer down there. And now Dennis Breen, who's the VP of Engineering and Technology at Capsonic Automotive and Aerospace. They're an OEM supplier for a number of large automobile makers. Half of his product team is based in Juarez, Mexico, and the other half works in Illinois, and he splits his time between the two facilities. Onshape Enterprise helps him keep track of who's working on what and when, so he can better prioritize how his engineers are spending their time. He also likes the option to add light users, so his manufacturing engineers and automation engineers can immediately access the latest 3D CAD data and use it to improve their processes. And so, oh, I'm going in the wrong direction. So just to summarize at the end here, Enterprise is the new premium edition of Onshape that is a complete design platform for teams and modern companies. And it offers secure control over your valuable intellectual property, the universal access for globally distributed authorized users. It gives unprecedented visibility to your stakeholders into design activity and project status. And it integrates with PLM systems, ERP systems, and even single sign-on systems using the Onshape API. It's currently available now, and you can discuss it with our sales team if you'd like to give it a try.
So thanks very much for tuning into this webinar. Just a couple points to leave you with. One is that what makes all of this possible is that we have a distributed database, distributed with a secure cloud worldwide that's keeping track of all database operations, all editing operations, and all IP operations. We are the only system that has that in the world today in the CAD industry. Other systems do in other industries, Salesforce and CRM, Workday and human capital management, Atlassian in software development. And that allows the kind of analytics that you're seeing here in those disciplines. One of the really key things here is that these analytics cannot be done any other way. This activity and these analytics cannot be done unless everybody has access to the data real time. And Onshape is the only system that provides that. So thank you very much for taking the time to tune in. And we hope you take a further look into Onshape Enterprise and Onshape Professional and Onshape Standard if they're the appropriate products for you. Thank you very much.